Oh, a lot of friends coming in. Zesty in the building.
Vanessa.
Hello, Aka. Good morning. How are you?
Good. Can you DM for me?
Can I what for you?
Can you DM?
I'd be happy to DM. If you can send me a message, if you got something you want to speak about in private, definitely go ahead and shoot me a DM, Aka.
Okay.
Mishi, do you want to tell us a little bit about your Fight Club?
Yeah, actually, I might start talking about Metaverse Thailand Expo. So that was a few-day event. I was able to catch up with Coconut Sunday from the space. So they usually perform at Crummyland. They were really cool to meet. It was also kind of talking about some new technologies and how the space is growing and what people are doing in the space. So there were 3 days. There was the first day, which was teaching people like MetaMask or what is this, the basics. Then the second day was intermediate, talking about new products, new platforms. So there's quite a few metaverses like getting advertised. They spoke to one of the product owners of Sandbox, and it was really interesting to kind of hear him talk to the Thai creators, saying like, stop just trying to discover. This is your time to make an account, and what they're doing with linked wearables and how they're kind of really focusing on NFT projects and NFT communities to get those linked wearables in, and then that's onboarding like 10,000 people. So, and I think a lot of NFT artists are NFT Thai artists, so they've got a lot of NFT projects, not necessarily Metaverse artists. So it's really interesting way that he was talking and, just encouraging them to jump into Sandbox and make an account, and then maybe they'll grow into a creator. So I think it was just really, really interesting ways to onboard creators into the space. And then day 3 was talking about, it was more advanced, so it was talking about spatial and on cyber and these kind of 3D gallery spaces that are evolving, and how artists and businesses can use them for their space. So that was a really interesting way that they could explain that these services are free, this is a free area that you can rent, and then you can go on to build in those spaces in your own way. And so that was a really good way to kind of approach creators, but also a good way to focus on businesses looking to invest in the space. And then I ran into Coconut Sunday. UMAC was messaging me like, Coconut Sunday's there. And I was like, okay, I'm going straight there. They had a booth. And so they're starting an NFT project to sell their music and to promote their debut album. So I got a photo with them and got to see them live, their live set, which was amazing. And my phone had died. So so I couldn't really film it. So I thought it was just really sick to see them live with a really cool light show and have that experience. So it's just something amazing seeing someone from the space live. And then I met up with some NFT artists, and I'm going to be meeting up with some more NFT artists that have got sellout projects, so larger projects. So I met some smaller ones, and I feel like the barrier to entry for Decentraland for them was just the price. So that and I even felt a bit bad hearing people say like, I've always wanted to make a t-shirt, I've always wanted to make this, but I couldn't, I can't afford the $150 USD. So I felt like, I want, because I'm like, I'll just make it for you, but I can't do that to everyone, because then it's like $600. Like, I don't know, all these NFT artists. So I felt like that was actually a really interesting perspective to me around costing and publication costs. And so it's also interesting to see that these metaverse spaces are predominantly in English. So a lot of NFT artists as well, they don't speak English. So I think that language barrier is also a really interesting one when it comes to metaverses. So some of these new metaverses were catering to a Thai audience and focusing on, the native language rather than it being predominantly in English. So for me, I think that was also a really good way to onboard people from different cultures, different countries that are predominantly NFT artists. And so, especially since NFT artists have been in the space for years, they've been making so many collections and really profiting in the space, but they've just never really touched base in metaverse spaces. So as this kind of Web3 space continues to grow, I think we'll see an evolution in that, people using different marketing strategies to onboard all these kind of people that are like these kind of target audiences that are quite shy to enter, that have a large following or have a large community. So I think that's good to know for, I don't know, I think project planning and these kind of things coming in, because then we can see there's a large target audience there with money looking to spend in Web3, but there's a barrier to going into metaverses, or they're kind of a bit shy. So it's just having this really welcoming discussion, like just make an account and try it, stop trying to research. The research time is done, just jump in and play. And I think that's so encouraging. And then tonight I tried this Fight Club. And so it was really fun. I was meant to meet up with Buffalo's friend, who's a French DJ that became a Muay Thai expert. And and then I went in, and he went home. So I had a Thai guy just yelling at me, he took his shirt off. He was really step. I'm like, whoa. Don't punch me. I was like, punch me harder. Punch me. And so it was really fun. And I'm going to go a couple of days this week before I go to Phuket and meet up with some more Thai artists. So Thai NFT artists. But it was interesting. So yeah, they've got a crypto project, and then they use sandbox avatars. And it makes me curious to see how we can use skins, the skin category in Decentraland, as people's NFT projects, so kind of like what people are doing in Sandbox, because that's technically an NFT, and if you have it stylized in a really nice way, you can do the same thing as what they're doing with Sandbox with those full body avatars. So it's a lot of food for thought, and it's something that I'm really curious about. And I feel like for some reason, every country I'm in, I'm like, I could live here forever. Australians are too adaptable. I feel like we just adapt so quickly. And it's been a really good journey. Sorry, what were you going to say, Simple? I don't want to...
No, I was just going to comment, if you can live in Australia, you can live anywhere.
Well, Australia is really fancy. It's so expensive. That's why I left. It's so expensive. It's cheaper to travel than it is from inflation.
If you can afford Australia, you can afford anywhere.
You can afford, and yeah, pretty much that's actually the motto. You can afford it, because even people say Japan is so expensive, but I'm like, where as an Australian, oh my god, so cheap, everywhere so cheap. And so yeah, it's been a really interesting kind of research and discovery kind of phase, and so much interesting kind of bubbles in Thailand, different from most around the NFT space and Web3 space. So, and it's interesting to see all the competitors, all these new smaller metaverses that are just thirsty for creators. So I think Decentraland's quite lucky to have, I wouldn't say an abundance, but to have a really strong vein of creators in the space. I think that's something that a lot of the spaces don't have.
Well, I mean, when it comes down to it, all these metaverses that are coming in, they're gonna need a community. They're gonna need people to come in and create, and that's what will make the metaverse successful. The people are the commodity.
Well, I was saying this earlier, so I made a post because I'm also kind of experimenting a lot with digital NFTs. And this is something that, so a lot of these kind of bigger brands, so Dolce & Gabbana, Puma, Adidas, Nike, all have these digital stylized memberships, or, you get something for owning their NFT. One of the brands actually kind of rugged on their community and then started a new NFT project. And so I was a bit confused because I was like, I didn't get the hoodie. Everyone's getting these damn hoodies. So I was like, I didn't get the hoodie. I didn't get anything. And then a lot of the people who were able to claim, they still didn't get anything. And then that brand kind of rugged on the NFT project, being like, no, this is a separate entity. We weren't actually meant, it was just a small collaboration. They've kind of played it off like that. And then they started their new NFT, which is 0.2 to mint. And then you need to burn that and pay another 0.2 for the membership. And I was really confused. I was like, what does this even, what's the benefit of this? And the community was really like, this is bullshit. Don't even, don't worry. They're just, they're not only they rug pull, but now they're just trying to cash grab. And they were just really so negative towards that brand. And that just shows you can have growth and you can have community, but if you don't support that community, then the community won't support you back when you are kind of like in trouble. And I think that's something that and so actually I wasn't talking about Decentraland and people bringing up like the recent unfollowing of all its users and creators, or someone was bringing up something else. Like, I was like, oh, a couple of negative Nellies in here. I wasn't even talking about Decentraland, and I think, but in general, like, if you have, and this is just like a kind of reactive thought based on some of the negative comments, I was like, without, like, you can have growth, but without a community, you've got no one to share that growth with. You've got no one to kind of champion you, or, you know what I mean? Like, when you are having a hard time in bear market or whatever, the community is always there to be like, well, we're going to keep going, we're going to keep building, and vice versa. You can have growth, you can have a lot of these really big champion events, but if you don't have that strong community, then you're not really going to have many people to share it with, or people aren't going to care as much when you do have these massive achievements. And so I think that's something just to kind of reflect on. But I think Decentraland has such a strong community, and we are so intertwined. It's like a small city, you know what I mean? So I think, yeah, support the community, and the community will support you, is a really focusing, and especially with NFTs, you know what I mean? Like, the NFT projects that are successful but then don't really support their community, when things either go down or it doesn't work out, they don't have that customer retention for people to be like, oh, well, we're loyal to this brand, or we're loyal to this, and then they just, I don't know, shit all over them. Like, they get really like aggressive, like, whoa. Like, and so yeah, I think that's definitely a thought bubble.
I think you're right, Nishi. I think like this week Frank released his first wearable, and that was so exciting. Like, I think the whole, I don't know, our little group that got it, like, I was so excited for him, even though, like, I'm not the one releasing it, but just to see a friend of ours, get to that point, like, that kind of just awesome event of releasing a wearable is like something that we can all celebrate. Or when somebody else, like when Rustan has an awesome build, I mean, it's like we're all celebrating and like cheerleading for each other, I would say. So that's, yeah, that really brings home that, like, kind of that community idea. Mishi, question, is cryptocurrency, like, we got your take on Singapore. Is it just like crypto, Web3, NFTs, is it more widely accepted and like kind of more common in Thailand, would you say?
I think here it's more NFTs. Like, I even see like NFT, like gamified NFT projects. I see it's more common. You see it on the advertisements as well. So a lot of billboards for like NFT projects, or more commercial NFTs. So this is something I didn't see in Singapore. Singapore was a lot more crypto focused or investment focused, and a lot of collectors. Whereas, yeah, in Malaysia, I felt like it was a very small community of more crypto and not really Metaverse. I think it's still very new in Malaysia. And then in Thailand, it's very NFT heavy and NFT artists. So as I said, there's commercial NFTs already, and people are implementing this in different ways. So I thought that was really fascinating. So I haven't seen too much in the crypto space. I haven't actually looked. I was looking really in the NFT area, but just walking around. So even at the airport, one of their phone companies for like a 5G network, they have these two, like, I think it's like just like two really photorealistic people, like models, and they're like Metaverse citizens. And I was like, what Metaverse are they from? But I think the fact that advertisements are using digital models and 3D avatars in a very common commercial way, and already part of that marketing strategy, that it's interesting to see it's been really implemented. But I think Metaverse is trickling in, but it's growing. I think it'll be growing quite fast because they have such a kind of, like, NFTs are so common. So I think that's really fascinating, because that could be an example of where we see the future of NFTs in more Western countries, or already we see on Times Square and stuff like this, like NFT project advertisements. But when we start seeing commercial companies onboarding, it's going to be interesting to see how they use this in more like membership way. So in Singapore, as I said, like Claire Crypto, he's the one that actually launched for a massive shopping center called Capitaland. And I was researching this project as part of something that they've done in Singapore, and it was like, if you came into Decentraland and got the wearable, which I think Yannicus and DCL Dating made as part of that Decentraland, you get 20% off in-store in any of the stores in their shopping center. You get invite into the event, in Decentraland, but also in the shopping center. So they had live DJs and all this stuff. And I think possibly it was streamed into Decentraland. So that was a really massive digital event in a really unique way. And I think it was just so low key because we didn't hear about it. It was very big in Singapore as like a one-off event. And that's what also sparked a lot of curiosity with that brand in the crypto space and NFT space. So that was actually something that Decentraland could have championed, and I just didn't even know about. It was so low key. And so Claire Crypto did that with his kind of bandwagon brand and agency.
Wow, I personally did not know about this event happening, because if I did, I would have stayed up and supported. You know, I would have brought my avatar there and chilled a little bit. I must say, like the incentive to kind of like come into Decentraland, claim your wearable for a freaking 20% discount. That's freaking nuts.
Yeah, and so I found out about that when I was in Singapore, and before I met Claire Crypto actually. So I didn't even know he did that. I just kind of knew about the event. I researched it, and that was in June. So that was a June event. So I think it was a 1 or 2 week event. I'm sure he can tell us a bit more about that. But it just shows how we can actually use wearables in a slightly different way. And so especially with Fashion Week, we saw a lot of wearables having that digital element. And I think one of the first ones I saw in Decentraland was Hold HQ had their Diamond Hands hat, and then you can get the hat in real life. So, and then during Fashion Week, we had stuff like Muse having like 20% off if you buy the wearable, then you get 20% off the real product. But it was very expensive. It was like $70 wearable. So I don't think they sold any. But you know what I mean? It was like a very expensive wearable. And people didn't know that was a benefit. And a really funny one that I'm seeing pop up so frequently is Subway and Lay's did a collaboration, and this was before I was a curator. This was one of those collections that had been sitting there for like 3 or 4 months. And so when we first became curious, we just did like a massive suite. It took, like, I remember I was just, me, Yannicus, and someone else was like there for like a week trying to catch up on all this backlog of approvals. And one of them was like this Lay's Subway collab. And I was like, how did this get under the radar? They'd been waiting since like December. You know what I mean? They'd been waiting 2 or 3 months. And so I approved it, and then I saw all over LinkedIn this agency talking about how it's got AR like compatibility. It's also a collaboration with Snapchat, all this stuff, and I just did not know about it. And it was just such a low-key wearable. And then now I'm seeing that they released that first because it's got interoperability. So they've also just released the spatial and I always forget the other one, like Solarium. I forgot. I forget. It sounds like Solarium. Somnium. They've just done like high-res versions of it. I'm always like Solarium. So I'm starting to see that around. So not only is it a wearable, but it's also AR compatible and now interoperable between metaverses. And that started in Decentraland. So we were the bottleneck. We're the reason it was delayed so long. But it's just such a big brand, and I'm surprised that we haven't heard of it because we're in this space. So, and I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for, you know, I was the one that found it in that approval list. So I think there's just so many big brands that come in and they just drop some stuff, but it's so low key, but then they talk about it in a very niche space like LinkedIn, because that's the only place I've seen the Smiths and Lay's collab from Decentraland. And so it's the same with Claire Crypto. I wouldn't have found out about that whole Singapore collab because I was in Singapore and I was researching it. So it's just really interesting, all this kind of underbelly stuff that does, all these underdogs in the space that do release all these really cool campaigns and projects, and it just doesn't get, I think, attention, or it's just low key. So I'm not sure. It's just a curiosity. I'm not sure if that's a pro or a con. It's just something. You know what I mean?
I've noticed that too, Mishi. Like there'll be a wearable. Like I'm always searching wearables and like looking them up by the ones not for sale. I know, you know. It's no secret. So like, I'll be like, okay, this one I like. I'm gonna keep my eyes open for when it hits the market. And you know, it's crazy how many wearables never go up for sale. Like they're high quality wearables. Somebody paid, you know, a creator to make it, and they paid the curation fee, and then you know it's in the marketplace, but it never gets sold. Like or then you're never seeing them on secondary. And so I just wonder, like, what was the story behind, you know, this wearable? Like, what is it? Is it something that they gave out to like their VIP members, or you could win, or something? Or did they want to hit the metaverse play and like, yep, we created we were in the metaverse, we were there, 2022, we were one of the first, but like they don't actually do anything with it. So I don't know. There's so many wearables. If you look through the not for sale that are by brands that we would recognize that are never released. So, I'm sure all of those the big brands. There's a lot of steps that you have to go through. I know some of the ones that I've heard of. Like there's multiple areas where you have to get permission. So maybe they made the wearable, gave it to the the curation team, and then they're like, nope, that doesn't hit the mark of what we're looking for. Something, they scrap it, but. I'd love to see more of those wearables like hit the marketplace.
I think as well, like, 'cause I do that as well, because I check every week, like, not every week, but I mean, like, I usually check most weeks before I start my spaces, like, just to see what's been approved and what's new on the market. Like, I like to see the new things. I like to keep up to date with, like, current trends in Decentraland, and it's just interesting to see what gets uploaded into Decentraland marketplace. And I think I do see that a lot. Sometimes people do release things and then they just never put it up for sale. So either they're just like, okay, we've done it, and then just walk off. I don't know. It's because sometimes it's not even brand stuff. And I was keeping an eye on, that Noun project? It's like the Noun by Otaku Coin, I think. It's so good. Yeah, like I actually started looking into Otaku Coin after the second round of one of ones. I think they're 500 mana, and it got like sold on the day, like so quickly. And so Otaku Coin is an app that supports anime artists and anime studios. And so if you download that app, you watch a lot of trailers for these kind of more indie studios, and then you get Otaku Coins for supporting or watching those trailers. And so I thought this is really interesting, and it's like a kind of token cryptocurrency. And so they're releasing in Decentraland all these kind of low-key wearables as well, but they're just really amazing and sick. And I think it's just so cool. And so I just saw these recent ones, and I was like, I really want it, but they always get scooped like seconds.
I know. Somebody scooped up that beautiful robe. I won't say who, but yeah, I like the otaku also. And I think I looked it up. If I could be wrong, but it's kind of the Japanese word for maybe like degen, something similar. Like that's what I kind of remember it as, but maybe my translation could be wrong.
Like a weeaboo. Japanese word for weeaboo, or like anime nerd, or that's it with anime and really loves it. So, but I feel like originally it had a negative connotation, and now it's like for foreigners, I think it's a really not negative word. You know what I mean? You can actually use it in branding, and it shows like, oh, you're part of this collective that really loves anime and really loves this kind of style of media. So, and I think it's cool that it's supporting, as I said, like these startup anime companies or manga companies. It's a really, really interesting project.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, yeah, go. Cut me.
No, I was like a cryptocurrency that pays you to watch anime. Be cool. And I think, like, I remember looking it up, and it's because the amount of people that start like at anime, they might start it, but they only watch like 10 minutes and they just don't get into it. But like probably usually stories, it takes a little while to get into it and then feel like you want to see the rest of it. So this pays you to watch the whole thing. So then maybe by the time you watch the whole thing, then you want to see the second episode. So yeah, like that's the world we're in. Cryptocurrency to pay you to watch anime. Now that I say it out loud, I need to watch it.
Yeah. Well, also, like, it's an app as well on your phone. And I think that's interesting because they're in the space. And I know the Japanese community is actually quite decent now in Decentraland. And so I feel like this is a really funny one where people are critiquing certain wearables, or like, I wouldn't say shaming, or sometimes shaming, but like, more making fun of this wearable. Like, this is so dumb. I can't believe this is a thing. But then actually I see in the Japanese community, they're all saying, like in Japanese, like they're saying like how much they love this, or they're all getting these get-togethers and they're wearing these wearables. And I'm like, it's just a cultural difference, so we have the Brazilian community, we have the Spanish community, we have the Bulgarian community, which I found out from doing that cultural spaces. We have the Japanese community, we have the Korean community, we have so many more communities. So it's like, just because we're like, this is the dumbest wearable I've ever, something like this, there's actually a community that's like, this is awesome, like we love this. So we just don't know. And one of them, I can tell you which wearable like was getting a lot of flack, and I was like, actually I've seen it in the Japanese community. You know that full body cup? It's like a coffee cup for like Boston coffee or something. People were just giving it like a lot of trouble and being like, this is the stupidest wearable, it should never have been approved, blah. And I'm like, I've seen it a lot in the Japanese community, so I wouldn't talk down to it, because it's got its own audience in the space. And that's what I'm really loving, is these sub communities now growing in Decentraland.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got my snarky shark. I love my snarky shark. I got the gold one. Its little flippers are so funny. It's just like trying to dance in that thing. It's something to see, but I like it because I'm part of the community, and you could only get that for holding the NFT. So I think, yeah, we might see something that doesn't have a meaning to us, but it means something pretty important to the user. So it's so cool that NFT wearables like this are a way that we get to show like our support. And then everybody making, wearables to match their NFTs. Like Rustan, he's got the clone. I just saw somebody else has a clone skin in the wearables that it looks like I think it's a unique. So it's really cool when you can actually create your NFT, like PFP, as a wearable, and then you can walk around like that in Decentraland too. That's pretty amazing.
100%. And it also kind of shows your community that you're part of that. So I know with Twitter and stuff like that, you have your clone as your profile pic, except for Roston. And people straight away are like, oh, you're part of this community. And they're more welcoming. It's like, and it's also like a $20,000-$30,000 asset. It's like, I don't know, like showing off a little bit. Like, ooh, I have something, like, really. I have a clone X.
Hey, that's why I flex my snarky shark. I mean, I don't want to make people feel bad, but I got a snarky shark, and she's number 702. I'll just say it out there. She's worth about $80. So not to make you jealous, but.
Actually, like, just thinking about multilingual and things like this. So actually, even in this the whale VP discussion that's going on, and all these VP discussions, I'm only in the whale VP channel because it's just something I'm really passionate about, is these projects trying to just whale in their own grants. I think it's really frustrating for me as a creator, and this is something that I talked to a few people about earlier in the week, because creators usually have the least amount of VP, and then all these people with the VPN land being like, well, I need more money for my land. And it's not really benefiting the community, it's just benefiting themselves, and then they just override everyone's opinions, and like they just disregard and just try and whale in their own projects. And so that's why I'm just like, I'm interested to see some of the solutions on how to prevent that. So I can't bring too much to the table, but it's interesting to see. And I was just going to say, one of the kind of things that did come up was the DAO being not multilingual. So a lot of these kind of smaller communities they don't even know these changes are going on, or these discussions are happening, because it's all in English. It's all predominantly English. And then it's the same issue sometimes with wearables. So people are publishing their wearable and getting the feedback. But because it's predominantly in English, they don't even know there's feedback. And when they do find the feedback, they don't understand. So I've been helping the Japanese community a little bit, just translating or helping, just fixing the changes and things like that. And being like, this is something we can do. And that's just like something low-key I'm doing. But I think it's just one of those kind of, and I don't know what's happening. Like, who would be there to support the Spanish community? Who would be there to support the French community, or support all these other kind of the Korean community, And so the bigger we get, I think this is something we will have to like one day look at, just so that you can include the community, so it's not just predominantly English and Spanish.
Yeah, that sounds like definitely there's a need there. I know that you can use the translation services, but it would be cool if that was kind of integrated into Decentraland, into the DAO, or into the wearable like curation, however you use to communicate. Because I think communication is going to just make things move faster, definitely.
Or even like, I don't know how it works, like a Google Translate or something. but I don't know. Hey, Last Room. Hey, welcome up. I didn't actually sneak up. Hey, Last Room. How you doing?
Yep, we got Last Room in the building, of course. I just saw that a proposal has been put up by Last Slice for an immersive in-world marketplace. Everyone, please make sure to check it out. I'll drop a link in the bottom. And Last Room, how are you today?
What's up, everybody? How we doing?
Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Oh, well, thank you. It's a great morning. I'm on my second espresso. If we have any
First coffee here.
If we have any coffee drinkers, but yeah, the proposal is really amazing. If we can touch on it at some point, but love people getting together, talking about Decentraland. Love everyone's passion, and I guess at the end, let's not let this go the Second Life way, where it's just a bunch of underground cultists that keep Second Life alive. So I love that we're all trying to push the boundaries of Decentraland through community engagement. So super stoked about that.
Second Life had an event the other day. They had 100 attendees, all the users. So it's not it's not completely dead.
Well, yeah, I think they have like 300,000 active users or something.
Well, hopefully they all came to Decentraland.
There we go. Now that would be a metric to track.
They're just invisible.
Now, Lastrum, let's say these 300,000 people did come to Decentraland right now. Do you think Decentraland would break?
Do you want my foundation hat or my personal private community hat on?
I in all honesty, I prefer the personal. The foundation one.
Yes. Yes.
But what platform can handle 300,000 people? Is this a stupid question? I'm like, what can handle 300,000 people? Is there actually like a platform that can? Like a game or something?
It's a great question. And I've talked about this with people in the Last Slice community and sort of ad hoc conversations about the other side. And just in general, how the other side does really well at marketing. And their big marketing pitch is 4,600 concurrent users. And so Amici kind of gets to that topic, like what platform can currently do that, and do we even care? Because like, let's distill it down for a second. Outside of their great marketing strategy, does that number really matter? Because when you play Call of Duty, how many people are you in a matched lobby with? When you play Grand Theft Auto Online, how many people are you in a matched lobby with? When you're in Fortnite and you play King of the Hill, how many people are you in a matched lobby with? So does that number actually matter? Or are they just really, really, really good at their communication and marketing their platform where it is today?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it matters. I think it's 100%. More about the quality of things. Wow. Because let's say you have 400 and whatever thousand people, 1 million people. We'll just round up to 1 million. Let's just say you have 1 million people to the moon. If it's so congested and so busy, you can't enjoy the space either. Like especially during Art Week, where you do want to immerse in it and you do want only a few people in the space, or you want to be in the same server as your friends. You don't necessarily need 100,000 people in the Art Week exhibition.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in real life, you know, I'm a semi-extroverted person. I like being around people. But do I need to have 100,000 people on my street? No, I want to walk up to the donut shop and maybe see like 5 people. And so this weird concept, again, they've done really good at marketing and communication. 4,600 concurrent users, seamless experience, amazing. How many people actually want to just pile up on a boss over and over and over and over and over again for the Metaverse experience? So I love that, you know, we're talking about community and getting more people engaged. We're not talking about, and I'm a huge advocate. I definitely raised the flag when I think there's something wrong with the platform, but I don't necessarily think we need to have more and more and more concurrent users for it to be successful. I think we need more content.
And I think I was actually talking to a researcher the other day they had spoken to Facebook Meta, and then they were doing research on different spaces and the metaverse. And so just for context, I am traveling to learn more about Web3. I'm finding all these bubbles, finding devs, and finding out what everyone else thinks about everything, about where Web3 is going and stuff like that. So that's why I was talking to a researcher. And Facebook Meta is ready to onboard so many people, and they were asking about security in more decentralized spaces. And I felt the community that is so tight-knit, if you join, a lot of people give you the kind of heads up about security and help you kind of into the space. It's kind of I guess, they hold your hand a little bit, because then you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Then you meet a collective like Last Slice or Baby Dolls or something, all these kind of tribes in the space. And then they're the ones that support you. No, you need your MetaMask, you need this, here are some wearables, don't click on that, or that's usually a scam, or don't do this, and even teach people that there are scams. So I think Facebook Meta onboarding hundreds of thousands of people, like my mom or whoever they're trying to target, my mom would click on it. She wouldn't know it, because it's so oversaturated. There's not that community foundation yet. And so people are going in 100% trusting this platform. And I'm like, this is not, I don't think it's going to be metaverse users. It's going to be this kind of commercial outside, they're going to be onboarding.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting this, is that really Web3? And again, it gets to the definition of what Web3 is. Is Web3 built by the community for the community, and anybody owns a part of the community or platform that they're building? Or is Facebook creating a Facebook metaverse that isn't built on Web3? Meaning, in Decentraland, you can create an economy, a business around onboarding people, around education, around a development studio like Last Slice, the CBD Discord. That is a community of communities that might have different pillars of revenue streams, right? So that to me is Web3, and Decentraland again exploits, positively using that word, exploits those skill sets and allows us to come together in a communal fashion around those topics, right? Facebook can't really, or isn't really providing us the ability to become an onboarder in the metaverse and make money on it yet. At least that's what I'm seeing. So is that the Web3 way or not? I really don't know. And that's kind of, I don't know if we to transition, and I don't want to take up too much of people's time, but wanted to discuss the proposal because it sort of touches on all of this stuff. And it's hard to encapsulate that in text, because people can't read text. They can't get the context of the text. They can't understand exactly the vision without a visual aid, if we can't put images in the proposal. So I think, if we could transition to the proposal, and there are other Last Slice members who are on the team to discuss this project, because it's again, pushed by Last Slice, but we want to include everybody, because essentially we're going to create a new district. And I'm sort of diving into the proposal before talking about it, but I just want to give everybody context. Just because we have a development studio that then has a subset team for this project doesn't mean we don't want to be inclusive of everybody. We just need to get the process and the idea off the ground, and then continue this on forward. So the preface to this whole proposal is essentially we are going to take a plaza that is duplicated, and we are going to create, and this is I just want to get it out there, the word bizarre. We've all talked about this word for months and months and months, so I was a little concerned that other people were taking ideas from the larger community and doing them themselves. That's all I'll say about that. Probably shouldn't have said it on Twitter. It's happened to Last Slice before, where people take ideas from a communal pool of ideas and go spin off to themselves. So that's all I'll say about that. We can rename the word. It wasn't dogging the idea at all. I was just concerned about the timing, because we are releasing this project as what we had in mind as a bazaar. And so a bazaar is a marketplace. We don't own that word. We just wanted to put that word out there for our proposal. So essentially it's a plaza-sized absolute district marketplace in world experience. And there are three pillars really that we want to accomplish with this version 1 proposal. And the pillars are, if you guys actually think about this, you cannot buy a wearable in world at a marketplace. Now, you can individually, right, on Tangpocos or Nikki Fuegos or somebody else that has the skill set and go buy their wearables, right? But there is no in-world marketplace. So the version 1 pillar is trying to visualize all of the dApps that we interact with as users of the platform, but put them inside the platform that we're interacting with. Right? When you buy a Call of Duty skin or something in Grand Theft Auto, you don't go to grandtheftauto.com and buy it. You buy it in the world, right? From their in-world marketplace. So that's what we want to accomplish. We want to take all of the dApps and bring them down into the world. Because again, this gets to what we were just talking about as, that's why I want to say it sort of touches on all these points. It gets people more immersed in the platform. That doesn't mean we need to have 10,000 people at once in the marketplace and view all of them, but maybe we get 10,000 more people in Decentraland buying things because it's all inside the same browser tab and they don't have 6 tabs open for 6 different things, right? So what we want to accomplish is visualizing all of the dApps. That's pretty much what we want to do with this proposal. So buying wearables, buying names, buying land, selling wearables, voting on the DAO, things like that, to us is a no-brainer that they should be in the platform. So the proposal touches on a couple of things about that. The foundation has given us this amazing platform and experience and SDK and toolkit to then go and develop everything. And the platform team and the Decentraland team, they can't build the